Hello, I'm Dave Mowitz, and welcome to Successful Farming. On today's program, I track the latest prices being given on late model high horsepower tractors. Then we feature an innovative invention for handling used oil. The engine man, Ray Bohacz, is back with some great tips on maintaining fuel injection systems. And after these brief messages, I travel to Iowa to tour the Prosser family farm. So please stay tuned. In 2014, Prosser Farms built their dream shop. The dream part of this structure was a shop big enough to not only readily consume large equipment, but a facility that supported a sideline business of rebuilding semi-trucks and trailers. Let's go talk to Andy Prosser about his family's investment. Andy, let's start kind of giving me a description of the operation and who's all involved with it then.
Well, we farm in between Eldor and Grundy Center, and it's with my father, Phil, and my son, Levi. And we do row crop, bean, corn, and soybeans, and we finish about 15,000 head of pigs a year. Wow. Contract grow them.
So when you built this shop, that was several years ago, what size structure did you settle on for erecting then?
Well, it's 200 by 82. Mm-hmm. We knew we wanted to go over 60 for sure because the planter's 60 feet. We wanted 10 feet on each side of that planter to work. We've always worked outside. We've never had to bring the planter. We've never been able to bring the planter in. I've always worked on it in the dirt, so we wanted a place decent to work on that planter.
So really the planter set the size of the shop.
Yep, pretty much.
But this is more than just a shop. At least the structure is more than the shop, isn't it?
Right.
You also have machine storage in the back.
There's 100 by 82 in the back.
Oh, okay.
And we call it the cold storage, which it's just machinery storage.
The Prossers bury two 40-foot beams in their floor to act as tie-downs to straighten vehicle and trailer frames. These tie-downs, which are often chains, are welded to the beam to be later cut off when the job is done. Back to the shop, on the way that you handled the setup, very little is attached except for your auto lift, which has to be. You've tried to keep everything on wheels, and also explained it like some of the different carts that you have. They're all equipped with whatever's needed for that particular job, right?
Yeah, we've got a riveting cart, we've got a hut gun, we've got anything you need to rivet a grain trailer, a pot, a livestock trailer. Mm-hmm. I'll roll that cart over, it's all right there, save me a lot of walking. The old shop wasn't bad with 30 by 30, but this one, you'll spend half your day walking around.
Yeah.
So we want to be more efficient, roll that cart over there, use the rivet guns.
You have a large metal welding table?
Yeah, we call it our rolling bench.
Yeah.
It's got a vise on it, everything down below, electric drills, grinders, anything you need to make something real quick to patch something up or, fix it, one of the two.
What is the handiest tool in the Prosser shop? That would be this scissors lift. The Prossers have found the lift to be indispensable, Phil Prosser says, particularly when working on tall equipment. If you had to do something over again, I think I know what the answer to this was because I was back in the machine storage. You've got to really fit in there tightly, and I kind of admire your creativity, how you got everything in, but I assume you discovered later you could have used a little more machine storage.
Right, yeah, we always can use another machine shed. There's some things maybe a guy should get rid of, but then it's always harder to sell things.
But for the shop itself, though, you're pretty pleased with the size you chose and how you kind of designed it.
Yep. I'm really pleased with it.
Andy's father, Phil, started out farming, making repairs quite literally under a tree limb. I asked Phil about his first open-air shop and what he likes about this structure. So, Phil, you got to explain, what did you start out in farming with for a shop?
I started out with actually under a tree. I had a branch that came out that I could hook a chain hoist on, and it was strong enough that I could lift an engine out of something. or lift whatever you wanted to lift. And I just, it was under a shade tree, basically. I had no building or anything. That's what I started with.
So you progressed that to at least a little better building along the way.
Yeah. I went to another building. I moved at another farm, and I had a small building that I used had 2 stalls, and then I would use these 2 stalls as a shop. Had some little heat in there. It did have a cement floor. That particular building had a cement floor. I was lucky, and that wasn't real big, but I used my space wisely, and just that's all I had. So I had to make do. Then we went to another building that had a dirt floor. I built a machine shed, and in the corner I built a shop, or had a shop, and it was a dirt floor. And we worked on a dirt floor for quite a while.
So with time, you had different structures that you and your son Andy were using then,
Sure.
And now you're operating in this. This has to be so much better than what you had before then.
I always dreamed of having a nice shop, and back in the days when you're working under a tree, you can dream. Well, I've always had this dream of having a really nice shop. And so I've fulfilled my dream by building this shop. Every day I walk in here in the morning, I come out and I go in the shop and I think, man, this is really nice. And I really do appreciate it. It's just a wonderful tool for the farm. And I call it a tool because it is a tool. It's very necessary. As far as our operation, and most farms need a place to get in and work on things and be comfortable while you're working.
A structure like the Prosser shop represents a significant investment, but it was an investment they have found has paid for itself in short order, says Phil Prosser. And he should know. Remember, he started out farming, making repairs under a tree limb. I'll see you again next time on another Top Shop Tour.
Hello friends, Ray Bohacz, Successful Farming Engine Man, and I'm here today with you to discuss fuel injectors. And if you're wondering where I'm at the Firestone Test Farm in Columbiana, Ohio, a really neat facility where they do all the ag tire testing and development. Fuel injection is in everything today. You even go buy a lawn tractor and you have a fuel injected motor. So it's about time that we got to understand fuel injectors a little bit. Now, what's confusing is you say it's fuel injection, that encompasses the whole system. What I'm going to be discussing today is the key component, which is the fuel injector. And as you can see before me, I have a whole bunch of different fuel injectors. They look the same, but they look different. And there are different designs of fuel injectors as far as the envelope of where it fits, how it fits into the engine, but their function is basically the same. So I'm going to use this, what is called a pencil style injector. It's a smaller envelope and it's commonly used in most applications today. What you need to understand is that the fuel injector is sealed to the fuel rail, which is the fuel supply, and to the intake manifold with a rubber O-ring. The same O-ring goes on both sides and fits in this groove. Over time and through thermal cycles, these O-rings will start to get hard and they will leak. It usually does not leak at the fuel site because that's a little bit further from the engine, but it usually will come and start to leak at the engine site. And it's not going to leak fuel, it's going to create an air leak, a lean condition on one cylinder. And that could drive you crazy because you could have one cylinder that's sucking air and it's only because of an O-ring. And these O-rings are readily available in most better auto parts stores. So for any fuel injector, it's a common style O-ring for that application specific injector. The other thing is what a lot of people don't know is that inside the top of the injector, the feed side, there is actually a little screen. And when the injector gets serviced in a professional injection shop, they replace this screen. A special slap hammer with a screw is used to pull this screen out. So you could actually, if you had this little tool, and if you want to do it in the farm shop, you can buy those screens, and if you take the injector out to change the O-rings, you may want to pull the screen out and put a new screen in. The other thing that happens is some injectors actually have a pintle cone on it. and this pintle cone helps to distribute the fuel spray into the intake runner of the cylinder head. These two become brittle, and if they becomes brittle and falls off, it's not going to hurt the motor, but the fuel delivery will not be atomized properly in that cylinder. If you're ever wondering whether the injectors are firing, if you're chasing a drivability problem or rough idle, the proper tool to use is what's called a Noid light. It's N-O-I-D, and this plugs into the injector harness. You disconnect the injector electrically, you plug this in, and you crank or start the engine, and it will flash. You could also use a test light for that, but a Noid light is an easier way to do it. And it's very imperative to keep the injector pintle clean, and a good product like this, an injector cleaner in the gas tank, goes a long way in having the injector function properly. You have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time in the farm shop.
Join me at sale to see what late model high horsepower tractors are selling for after these brief messages. Welcome to Steel Deals. Forklifts started gaining favor with farmers 25 to 30 years ago as producers began employing hard-tired factory floor lifts. The convenience of forklifts offered attracted attention, so much so that a great many indoor lifts can be found in farms today. Farmers then began casting their eyes toward rough terrain forklifts, who higher clearances and greater lift capacities extend their use out to the yards and fields. That's why I've selected this JCB 930 on today's Steel Deal report. This forklift represents an entry-level machine many farmers could afford, and that has an open operator station, two-wheel drive, and shuttle shifting. Work-wise, this JCB is a mid-range machine with a load capacity of 6,000 pounds, but buying a lift is fraught with challenges. This is due to the fact that most rough terrain lifts come from the trades where employees, not the machine owner, runs the equipment. And these machines are often run year-round and often face harder service than most farm machinery. That's why it's crucial to conduct a thorough inspection of used lifts before buying them. Now, to get some pointers on forklift inspection and used values, let's go talk to an expert at Weeman Auction before our JCB sells. I'm talking with Kevin Weeman, and we're looking at that JCB 930, Kevin. The problem with forklifts like that, and that has some age, and you told me it's gone around the country a little bit, is it doesn't look that bad, but should I be worried if I'm buying a forklift like that?
I guess it would depend on the application you're buying it for. You know, if it's strictly farm use, load a little seed, that sort of thing, but if it's going to be heavy day in and day out use, I think you want to do a real good inspection of it before you buy it.
Now, Kevin, if I wanted to get some background information on that, do I start with you?
That'd be a good point. If we would give you the buyer's or the seller's name out, you can talk to them. Sometimes with this equipment, it's been around the track, so you might only find out where they bought it if it came from another auction or whatever, but a lot of this later model equipment, you can trace the serial number and find the pedigree on it.
Now, but you guys have some expertise too, because you'll sell a few forklifts out here. I mean, you're mostly farm machinery, but they do show up.
Yeah, we sell construction equipment. Our motto, if you look on our business site, is we sell the earth and everything on it. We try to keep that going.
So a forklift would qualify. You've got some background information. You'd like to be transparent in the stuff you're selling.
Absolutely. Everything we do here, we're a third generation auction company, and I don't want to do anything that jeopardizes what my grandpa and my dad did to get this business started.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to know what's going on with that forklift, at least you'd give them a decent opinion on it to know.
Right, and a lot of the equipment that's at our lot, if one of the Weemans don't, one of our hired help will come out, and we try to drive everything, check it over.
Now the question on that forklift is I'm coming here, I'm going to look at it, what should I give or what kind of a range? Because, man, I looked at prices and they were ranging from $3,000 to $30,000. So how does one figure out what my top bid is?
The biggest thing with forklifts is are the bushings wore in the mass? Are the side shift components, are they still working? Are the brakes solid? Because they get used brakes all the time. And the other thing with the JCB is if the transmission and the torque converter is solid in it.
Oh, so they've had a history of having a problem. And there's a lot of JCB loaders out there for sale.
Yes, there are.
Now, I picked that loader as opposed to a factory floor loader because there seems to be more interest in the rough terrain, right? Because it allows you to go out in the field.
Absolutely, you got more things that you can do with it. And once you have a forklift on an ag farm that you never had before, you'll be surprised how many things you're using it for.
So if you had to hazard a guess, what would you think would be a nice range or top bid that thing will bring today?
My guess, knowing kind of what we've sold them for in the past, I'd be $5,000 on the bottom, $7,500 on the top.
Well, let's go watch that JCB sell.
$6,000, that's $6,000, now 65, now 7, that's $7,000. I got the internet in at 6, gotta be 7, that's $7,000 here, but he gets 7. I'm at 6,000, get up at 65, now 7, that's 65, get up at 7 here, but he 65, get up at 7, that's $7,000 here, that's $7,000 here, but he, I got 67.5, you gotta be $7,000, now 72.5, you're not in, Ron, that's 72.5, that's 72.5 here, but he gets 7, get up at 2.5, 72.5. 75, your internet's out. That's 7,500 here. I got 72.5, you're up at 75. That's 7,500 here, but he gets 75. 7,500. That's 75 there, but he gets 70. 72. You're in. 72.5. Internet, you're out. Give 7,500. Gonna be the next item sold. Give 7,500. That's 7,500 here. Now 77.5. And now $8,000. $8,000 gonna be 8. I got 77.5. I want $8,000. 8,000, 82.5, 82.5, 82.5 here, but it could be 82.5, but it could have been 2.5 here, a little quicker if you could, 8,000, 82.5, but it could have been 82.5, but it could be 85, 8,500 here, 83, 84, 83, but it could be 84, but 83, but it could 4, but 83, but it could 4, but it could 4 here, but it could be 83 and 4, 83, 84, all in, all done, 83, 84, sold them out, 8,300.
Our JCB 930 just finished selling, bringing a final bid of $8,300. Now, how does that compare to similar lifts? Well, a 1987 930 recently sold in California for just $3,500, while a 2013 model went in New York for $30,000. Now, that's too wide a range to provide a price comparison. So many things impact rough terrain lift values. How it is equipped. Is it a 2 or 3 mast machine? Whether it offers 2 or 4-wheel drive. And more importantly, hours and conditions, especially conditions. Before buying a forklift, you should call its owner and ask how it was employed and maintained, and then inspect every major aspect of the machine. Examine the entire length of the mast, looking for weld repairs and general structural condition. Examine the mast rollers and lift chains for their overall condition. Start the forklift, operating the mast, and driving it around. I hope those pointers help you in your hunt for a rough terrain forklift. For more information about Weeman Auctions, you can go to their website at weemanauction.com. I'll see you next week on another Steel Deals Report. After these brief messages, we feature a nifty and mess-free way to handle used motor oil, invented by a farmer. So please stay tuned.
I'm James Nelson. I farm here in Audubon County in west central Iowa, and this is the oil drain cart I built to make changing oil a little more enjoyable. We always used to use just 5-gallon buckets, and the oil capacity on a lot of our machinery is more than 5 gallons now. And so we'd have to switch buckets, and then it was always a pain transferring out of the 5-gallon buckets into other barrels, and just handling it was never a fun job. So I came up with the idea to have an air evacuated system where I drain the oil into it, and then I close off the hole that enters the chamber, and then I pressurize it and I pump the oil out. And right now I'm set up to pump it through the wall into a 250-gallon bulk tank. It's almost all constructed out of 1/4-inch flat steel, and I used 4 caster wheels and just some basic plumbing and valves. At this point, I probably wouldn't change anything. I've got it working just how I want. When I initially built it, I did not have the vent. I didn't have the oil chamber vented, and so if I was dumping really hot oil, it would kind of bubble out of there because the air didn't have a way to escape. So I added that, and And at this point, I'm very happy with how it works. For more about this idea and other farmer inventions, go to agriculture.com/TV.
Please join us next week for another outstanding show. We travel to Wisconsin to tour the Morris Family Farm's top-notch top shop. Jolene Brown discusses the potential pitfalls of hiring family members for your farm. I'll be tracking the values for Kinsey 3600 planters, and we feature a classic white tractor on ageless iron. See you next week right here on Successful Farming. Hi, I'm Dave Mowitz. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit subscribe right here if you haven't already, and click that little bell right here to be notified when we post a new video. And click here to see more great episodes from Successful Farming Television.